Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the 8th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, and we're going to completely reframe how we view the incredible events recorded there. It's so easy to just read through these texts and see the miracles of Jesus as, well, a collection of random magic tricks or just disjointed acts of compassion. But as the source material we're unpacking today reveals, they are so much more than that. What we are actually witnessing here is a systematic, military-style campaign of divine power. This is an active invasion. It's about reclaiming territory that was lost to the fall. Today, we are completely zeroing in on the kingdom power behind these miracles.
So here is our battle plan. We're going to track Jesus' progression step by step, starting with words becoming action, seeing his power directed at the marginalized, looking at the true costs of discipleship, his authority conquering chaos, and finally, the kingdom's ultimate scope. Let's get right into it.
Phase 1, words become kingdom action.
Okay, picture this dramatic shift in the narrative. Jesus is coming down the mountain to the crowds, and Matthew is deliberately contrasting him with Moses. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai, he literally had to hide God's overwhelming glory behind a veil. Jesus, however, he walks openly among the people, displaying that divine glory directly and unshielded. This brilliantly illustrates what scholars call Hebraic unity. It's the simple but incredibly profound idea that you absolutely cannot separate words from deeds. Think about it. In the chapters right before this, Jesus delivered the Sermon on the Mount, the authoritative words, right? Now, entering Matthew 8, those words have to be backed up. The declaration of the kingdom must be verified by redemptive actions that directly confront the brokenness of the fall. To truly grasp what's happening in this text, we have to lock down what we mean by kingdom power. The kingdom of God isn't just some abstract ethical philosophy to ponder. No, it is an active, historical invasion of divine power. It actively overthrows the reign of sin, it dismantles sickness, it crushes demonic tyranny, and it completely subdues cosmic chaos. These physical miracles we're looking at, they are real, historical down payments on the total ultimate renewal of all creation. That brings us to phase 2, power over the marginalized. Let's see how this whole campaign builds into a radical reversal of human marginalization and societal boundaries. Because when Jesus unleashes this kingdom power, he doesn't go rub shoulders with the religious elites first. He goes straight to the outskirts. He systematically aims his holy power directly at those on the margins. First up, he encounters a leper, someone legally required by society to shout unclean just so people could flee from him. But Jesus doesn't flee. He actually touches him. And here's the wild part. Rather than contracting that impurity himself, Jesus' touch imparts immediate cleansing. His purity literally overcomes human contamination. Then, Jesus targets a Roman centurion, Peter's fever-stricken mother-in-law, and tormented demoniacs. He is actively, intentionally reaffirming the dignity of the exact people society had pushed away. Now, consider the profound faith of this Gentile military officer. This Roman centurion comes to Jesus on behalf of his paralyzed servant, and he tells Jesus, look, I'm not even worthy to have you enter my home. Instead, he recognizes Jesus' sovereign power over sickness through a brilliant analogy with his own military chain of command. He gets it. He understands that just as he gives orders to his soldiers and they jump, Jesus can simply say the word from afar and the sickness itself must obey. Jesus actually marvels at this, stating he hasn't found faith like this anywhere within Israel. So the crucial point here is the shocking reversal Jesus establishes in this moment. He uses this interaction to describe the eschatological banquet, which is essentially the ultimate end-of-the-world feast. He says Gentiles from the east and west are going to pull up a chair and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the realization of the ancient promise that all nations will be blessed. Meanwhile, the sons of the kingdom, the people relying purely on their ethnic lineage and socio-political status, but who lack genuine faith, they face expulsion into outer darkness. Inclusion in God's covenant relies entirely on personal faith in the Messiah, not on your pedigree. Let's move to phase 3, the cost of discipleship. Right in the middle of this triumphant, miracle-working campaign, the narrative suddenly hits the brakes. A scribe enthusiastically steps up and promises to follow Jesus anywhere. But Jesus responds with this famous, incredibly sobering quote. By invoking the title Son of Man, he's directly referencing Daniel chapter 7. He's claiming ultimate heavenly authority and universal dominion. Yet at the exact same time, he is embracing the total humiliation, the vulnerability, and the severe cost of his earthly mission. Think about that contrast. He is the heavenly ruler, but down here on earth, he's homeless. Then, another prospective disciple asks for permission to just go and bury his father first. And Jesus replies, "Follow me and allow the dead to bury their own dead." Now, I know that sounds incredibly harsh to our ears, but it perfectly illustrates the absolute urgency of the kingdom call. Discipleship demands total allegiance to the living king. It supersedes even the most fundamental, sacred, earthly obligations. It forces us, the viewers, to stop and ask, are you truly ready for the cost of this kingdom?
Phase 4, conquering creation and chaos. Returning to the miracles, Jesus and his disciples finally board a boat, and out of nowhere, a severe storm violently arises. We're talking waves threatening to completely swamp the vessel, absolute chaos. Yet Jesus, he is sleeping peacefully through the whole thing. Terrified, the disciples wake him up, practically begging for their lives. Jesus first rebukes the disciples for their little faith, and then, with a single command, he rebukes the raging wind and waves. The result? Immediate total calm, glassy water. The disciples are left utterly awestruck, whispering this pivotal question to each other: what kind of man is this?
The text answers that question beautifully through what scholars refer to as Yahweh typology. See, in the Hebrew scriptures, specifically in places like Psalms 89 and 107, subduing the chaotic sea is a power reserved exclusively for one being and one being only, God himself. By exercising absolute spoken mastery over the chaotic waters, Jesus is peeling back the curtain on his divine identity. Jesus is doing what only the Creator can do.
And finally, Phase 5. The kingdom's ultimate scope.
So the boat arrives on the eastern side of the sea, stepping directly into Gentile territory. And right out of the gate, Jesus confronts cosmic evil head-on. Two fierce demoniacs emerge from the tombs, and this scene brilliantly illustrates the profound, almost tragic division that the kingdom brings. Look at the contrast. The demons instantly recognize Jesus' identity as the Son of God. They acknowledge his ultimate judicial authority, they tremble, and they beg to be sent into a nearby herd of swine. Jesus permits it with just one word: go. The cosmic powers are entirely defeated and subjected to him. But then, look at the reaction of the townspeople. They are overwhelmed by fear and, frankly, the massive economic devastation of losing an entire herd of pigs, which was a huge fortune back then. So what do? They actually plead with Jesus to leave their region. The dark powers tremble before the Messiah, yet worldly systems will actively reject him just to preserve their own status quo and temporal security.
As we pull all of this together, it becomes so clear that these miracles in Matthew 8 are absolutely not isolated stories. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. They are the organic, unified culmination of God's overarching promise plan throughout the entire biblical canon. Jesus is literally fulfilling Isaiah's prophecy of the suffering servant bearing our diseases. He is realizing the ancient promise in Genesis of global Gentile inclusion. He's stepping right into Daniel's vision of the Son of Man's dominion. He is vividly demonstrating the Psalm's depiction of Yahweh's absolute authority over the sea, all while meticulously upholding the Torah, exactly as seen in Leviticus. The text weaves the entire Bible together into this one breathtaking historical invasion.
So, where does that leave us? Matthew 8 leaves us with undeniable, overwhelming proof of the Messiah's authority. The kingdom power behind these miracles is vast, it is sweeping, and it demands a response. We have seen him cleanse the marginalized, conquer chaotic nature, completely defeat demonic powers, and outline the very real cost of following him, which leaves every single one of us with the exact same choice that faced the ancient townspeople of the Gadarenes. The king has arrived. He has revealed his power. Will you submit to his merciful reign, or will you ask him to leave? That is the question you need to take away from this. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep seeking the truth.